All right, welcome back to the Ask Mama podcast. I'm Melody Angel.
I'm Mama Stephanie.
And I'm Lamar.
And this is part 2 of a series that we're calling the Sade Robinson case. We want to spotlight this horrific crime to this beautiful, innocent 19-year-old girl who went out on a first date and was never seen again. Mm-hmm. So this is part 2 of that. And Mama, I just want to ask you, where should we leave off? Where should we start for this episode?
Well, this episode, this past week was Sade's birthday on May 10th, and they celebrated her birthday / memorial. She would have made 20 years old on the 10th, and her memorial was held in Milwaukee at Beard Center. And the pizza shuttle where she worked was closed, and the owner allowed all of the employees to go to her celebration of life and memorial. So, wow, I'm sure that was something. I've seen some of it, and it was, you can only imagine.
Yeah.
Such a loved child. And that's it.
She was loved because she was sweet.
She was a sweet
You
little
can
girl.
tell. You don't even have to have known her.
Right.
The outpouring of love
Yeah.
proves that she was just a really sweet girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For sure.
Okay.
So we want
So where are we gonna go?
we're
next?
going to talk about Maxwell Anderson, the defendant, so we can have some background on where he came from. He attended several high schools in the Waukesha County. He's 33 years old. He owns a brick duplex on the south side of Milwaukee. Neighbors say he kept a low profile, worked at several bars, and often took temp work seasonal. His criminal record includes drunk driving, domestic violence. Related charges in 2014, he had 2 counts misdemeanor of disorderly conduct. A relative of his told the sheriff he shoved her, smashed her cell phone, broke kitchen items. She made a criminal complaint. Anderson asked police, "What are you going to do, shoot me?" Before running into the garage, fleeing into the woman's car. The complaint said he later returned, crashed her car into the deck, and was eventually arrested. Pleaded guilty a year later. At another family member, he was arrested and again smashing glass, punching holes in walls, grabbing a cell phone out of another relative's hand who was trying to call the police. Relatives suggest he seek mental health treatment. He also pleaded guilty again to a misdemeanor disorderly conduct attack on a man, and he was required to spend a year probation, 25 hours community service, and $7,000 in restitution to the victim for medical bills and lost wages. His attorney currently is named Anthony Cotton. That's what I've got on his background.
Wow.
And these arrests of his happened from 2014 to 2019, so a 5-year period that this went on.
I also would like to mention that actually very recently, January of 2022, he pled guilty to a DUI charge, and it was his second offense. And they took his license, and he had to spend like 75 days in jail. And that was just this January or last January in 2022. So, I mean, listen, a lot of people have charges. These are Class A, Class B misdemeanors, which on a scale means that they just mean they're not felonies.
Right.
Right? And felonies are a higher charge because they're more egregious. So that doesn't mean just because you have a record that you're capable of murder. But it does mean, because of the kind of crimes, when you say disorderly conduct, it can be a long list of things,
Right.
of intimidating people, of harming people, of
Right.
doing things, violent things. And so it's a violent history he has. And that's what I'm pointing out. That's what I see when I hear Mama tell the whole. I'm like, okay, so all of these crimes are violent.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely. Against his family.
Right. So you can see why
And strangers.
Right.
you can see
So-
why the dad didn't post bond. 'Cause-
Definitely.
And then he works in bars. He's gotten into altercations in those kind of environments. And,
Right.
when somebody has a volatile background, if it's used against black people, it should be used against everybody else as well.
Exactly.
Because as soon as you look at a young black man's history, and they're like, oh, if there's anything in there,
Yeah.
he's looked at as a criminal.
Absolutely.
right.
Automatically.
But this guy, it's just a different story.
Yes.
It's like, okay, but those weren't, now you hear the excuses like, well, those were just misdemeanors. They weren't, like I just said, right? That's the excuse for him.
Exactly.
It's not the excuse for us. So that's just another parallel.
Right.
Absolutely.
Where justice looks at us very differently in trials like this.
Right, because can you imagine he's at one of his relatives' house and he taunts really the police
Yeah.
and runs out, gets in a car, and they let him drive off?
Right.
Would have never happened if he was a black man.
Right.
That would not have happened at all.
Just let
Yeah.
him drive
None
off.
of it.
It's just we're gonna literally. That's the thing about watching cases like this, is that you get to see the parallels. You know exactly how you would be treated in this way. You know exactly how the media would talk about your history.
That's right.
In comparison to another. And it's just, there's two different justice systems at play.
Absolutely.
He's in the one where you are innocent until proven guilty.
There you
Right.
go.
And so we get to see what that looks like.
It's a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
Definitely it is. With a track record like that.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, Mama. Let me ask you what you think his lawyer's defense, Maxwell Anderson's lawyer's defense, will be when the trial comes.
I think because the state, well, they haven't said her cause of death, I think I wouldn't be surprised if his defense was she just died. I panicked, so I did all the things I did to get rid of the body because I didn't want nobody to blame it on me. I think he's going to say I think his defense will be
You think he's going to admit he did it?
No, I think he's going to say she died from something. I came in there and she was slumped over, or she
But you
died
think,
from something.
what I'm saying is, you think he's going to admit he did a crime, because getting rid of a body is a crime.
Well-
so you think he's going to admit that?
I think he might admit that in panic because
Okay.
it's so much
I don't see that.
circumstantial evidence as far as they done found the drill at his house. They found the cans of gasoline in his garage. They found the saw. They found so much. How is he going to explain all this?
Right, but circumstantial that's what that means. It doesn't have her blood on it.
But
So what I'm saying is, if somebody is going to admit to getting rid of a body, why would they plead guilty? Not guilty. Because as soon as you admit that she died with you in whatever way,
She died.
you're going to jail.
I
So
know.
I just don't see him admitting that and pleading not guilty and admitting he got rid of the body because he was scared because she died. I'm just saying they don't have her blood.
they don't have her blood, but once they do the autopsy, if they can match those saws he has with the cut marks on her leg or any of that type of the instruments that he used,
Yeah.
then they may be able to use that as evidence. I don't know what all the state has, but I'm just saying his only defense
that's fine. Okay, that's what
might
you think.
be she was already dead and I panicked.
What do you think, Lamar?
I think that he's going to say that the video of the car leaving was her driving away, and that she met up with someone else and they committed the crime. And because I don't have any motive. I didn't have a motive. And I think that's what the defense is going to be. I think they're going to say, well, she just met up with somebody else. And they mistake that it was me. They thought it was me, the people that saw the person walking away, but it actually wasn't. Because I do believe that he used a saw or drill or whatever, but I do believe it got burned in that car.
It might have, but they did find a drill saw and all these other pieces in his basement. Mm-hmm. And then, how's he gonna explain being on the bus? What were you doing, chasing the car down?
Right. And where was his automobile? Where was his car?
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't drive it. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
He drove her car.
Right.
Because his car was not there.
Right. But see, that's very interesting.
It is. They found a hacksaw, circular saw, and a power drill in the basement. So I don't know if it's blood on it or anything like that.
Like I said, I think that when you say not guilty, it's because you are not going to admit to doing anything wrong. You're not going to admit you got rid of a body. You're not going to admit she was ever even in your basement. You're not going to admit anything. All he has to do, what I feel he's going to do, is just use the circumstantial evidence to prove reasonable doubt. I think he's just going to, because any lawyer is just going to say, well, a lot of people have saws. Was her blood on the saw?
Right.
No. A lot of people have, this, that, and the third in their basement, especially, men. They have hardware like that in their basements and in their garages. That's not outlandish to have those things.
Right.
They're going to say, so you don't have they're going to try to use the fact of no murder weapon, no crime scene. The blood that was found in his basement wasn't hers. They don't know, and having gasoline doesn't mean anything either. That's circumstantial as well. That doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
Anybody could have gasoline.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it was the exact gasoline that was used. They don't have a witness to who burned the car.
Right.
So they can't place him at the scene of the burnt car. They can place him on the bus near where the burnt car is. But Milwaukee is very small. And being on a bus does not equate to being at a burnt car.
Right.
It's just so much that is circumstantial at this moment because we don't have the full details yet. Now, the police have been doing an investigation this whole time.
Right.
So we don't know what's developed since. But as it stands now, and if you were, like I'm saying, I'm asking what you think his defense would be. He would just use the fact that it's all circumstantial evidence and try to get off on reasonable doubt.
He might.
And that's what reasonable doubt is. It means that you can turn every piece of evidence into a either or situation. Maybe this happened, maybe that happened. But for sure, this happened if there's fingerprints, if there's blood, if there's a witness.
DNA,
these things make a case. And I'm very concerned with what's going on. I think when we talked about the timeline, I think that's let me ask you what you think the prosecution's case is going to be.
Well, I think because of all the circumstantial evidence that I know they've got, I don't know fully what the state has because, like I was saying,
I know you don't know, but I'm saying just from what you know, what do you think the prosecution would do today with the information you have right now? We can't, we don't know the future, but what do you think they're going to use Is it the timeline? Is it the GPS?
I think,
those types of things.
Yeah, I think they're going to use the timeline and match that up right now with his movements. He had her phone, because the last ping of her phone, I think, was like 12:45, but with her family members. But I think with the GPS, they can follow him from his house to the burned car, to back home. So I think they're going to use all of those things. And depending on the information they get back from forensics and the saw, did it match her cut? And one thing I did find out, because I was wondering, did she die after, was she mutilated after her death? And from what I can tell, I've heard a forensic scientist say it was postmortem. Post-mortem, because of the way the blood was. Yeah. So they could tell that much. So I was very
kind of relieved
that she wasn't alive when he dismembered her. So I think they're just going to follow that timeline, and whatever other things they have gotten from the forensics, that they will match all that together, and it will lead back to him guilty.
And what do you think?
I think that it's going to be hard with the timeline, because you have to physically place him there. Having the cell phone records, the defense could easily say, oh, well, how can you prove that it's him? How do you know that it's him? I think in conjunction with his criminal past, I think they're going to focus more on the criminal past of him, and the violence that occurred in his crimes. But, they don't have the murder weapon. We don't know when she died. They don't have the murder weapon. So they're up for an uphill battle. It's going to be kind of rough, I do believe.
It's going to be rough, but they might have it. We don't know. We're not privy to a lot of what the state has at this moment, all of the details.
The defense,
They may have the murder weapon.
Right, and I guess they don't want that information to be leaked out, because then the prosecution could prepare to counteract. But the prosecution is up for like you said, we don't know what they have.
But they've got to give him that information, don't they? Whatever.
Well, we'll get to that, but
defense, I think they have to share it.
We'll get to that, but to just stay on this topic, the prosecution has a lot still going for it, even though we're talking about circumstantial evidence. The prosecution still has the main thing. She was last seen with you. She went out with you and was never seen again.
That's right.
The last thing anybody knows is that she was with you. He has to make 12 jurors believe that some other human being, after a long night out with you, killed her, dismembered her, and took her to the river back and forth a couple of times in her car, and you had nothing to do with it. And that is a hard, that's a lot for anybody to believe. So that is the main thing that's working for them, because in a murder case, it's about crime of opportunity. And you are the one who had all the opportunity.
He certainly did.
And if you cannot come up with a plausible other person that could have done this, you can't just say some random person just decided to follow her home the night she went out with me and did this to her. Like, that's... Okay, dude, that is far-fetched.
It really
so
is.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
And that is why, even without knowing what other information the investigation has, you still know that the basics of this story are you are the last person seen with this woman.
Right.
You have a violent past. She doesn't.
Right.
Because listen, this is another thing that you do in a case like this is you look at the victim.
Right.
This was a clean-cut, good girl, went to school, went to work every day, was loved by her friends and family.
Yes.
Everything is all good on her end.
It sure is.
And on your end, you a straight-up criminal.
Right.
A drunk driver.
Through and through.
You know, you got issues with your family. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You move from job to job.
Yeah. Yes, he
You
is.
work at bars. You a bartender, you know, hopping around doing what you do.
Right.
You talk to the police any kind of way.
Yes, he
You know,
does.
so it's literally she went out with a bad dude.
She
Yeah.
did.
And it's the first date, and she's 19, so we know. And a lot of us, even regardless, you know how many bad dudes I've been out with? I didn't know they were.
Absolutely.
You get out on the date and you realize, uh-oh. How many times have any of us done that?
Yes.
Right.
So, you know, so all of that to say, the prosecution, even without the murder weapon,
Yeah.
even without the place where somebody, you know, died, they still have the fact
Yeah.
that who else could have done this?
Right.
And you know what else? His background, speaking on that, it's they also can probably call in ex-girlfriends, people he dated, because one girl in particular that worked with him went to his house and said he was just too weird. And I just had a bad feeling in his house. And he, you know, he was talking about the basement and told me it was creepy. So she was like, no, I don't think I want to go down there. And then in school, his classmates and people he went to school with, doing my research, they were saying how weird he was. And they really didn't like this guy. He wasn't he had a bad temper, like you said, and his background is not good. So I think they'll be able to get a lot of people to corroborate his background and what kind of person he is.
And like I said, that's not evidence. We're not saying that that's evidence to commit murder. But what it does is it builds a story. And the whole point of a trial is to build a plausible story for the jury.
Yeah.
Right.
What makes the most sense? She went out on a date with someone
Yes.
Yes.
with a violent past
Yes.
and was never seen again.
And so that speaks to his character.
That's right. Yeah.
But I did want to add something too. So I was speaking to a friend who's a lawyer, and she said the reason why 9 times out of 10 he probably waived the right to the preliminary hearing was because the prosecution had, which gives me hope, right? The prosecution has way more evidence than what we think.
Right.
And so that preliminary hearing, most often than not, if you've been arrested and you are coming up for a preliminary hearing, you're not going to win that preliminary hearing.
Right.
So you don't want that dirty laundry to come out. And so that's probably 9 times out of 10 the reason why they waived the right to have that hearing.
Well, yeah, also with that, it's kind of like he also hurt himself in the long run, though. If his desire is to get off, it to actually be, you know, not guilty, exonerated, because the judge even reiterated to him,
Right.
you understand that you are conceding that the prosecution has enough to move forward to trial. You're conceding that. You're
Right.
saying, yes, I know they have evidence against me.
Right.
So even that proves that he knows he had something to do with this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's why I'm like, I halfway feel like it could still end with him trying to plea bargain, you know, his way out, you know. before things get too far. But he doesn't seem very smart because regardless, here's the thing about a preliminary hearing. Everybody knows that they're not going to win the preliminary hearing 9 chances out of 10, unless you've just been framed and you found out you were framed and you got the evidence to get out of this.
Yeah.
You do it because you want a line, you want a pathway showing that you never believed that you had anything to do with this. Conceding to it is you admitting there is evidence against you for this crime.
Yeah, this man is
so
crazy.
That's why it's so stupid to me that he did this, because it's like you literally could have just did the preliminary hearing, lost it, but at least you lost saying I didn't do this.
But we're talking about the same person who dismembered a body and threw it in a public park at a playground, allegedly, at a playground where kids would be playing.
Well, and I also just want to add that he is being held on 3 counts: first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating of a corpse, arson of property other than a building. So that is what he's being held for on those 3 counts, and that's a fact.
Yeah, like I said, he's fully aware. We're not fully aware of all the evidence, but he is, and so is his lawyer.
His attorney,
And they're fully aware of what they had then in that moment.
Right.
But the investigation never stopped.
That's
which leads me to the next question. Do you think the police are doing enough to gather more evidence? Do you have confidence in this police department?
I'm going to say I'm a little iffy with the police department, and I'm going to say that because her father, Carlos Robinson,
the father
of Sade, he reiterated that he doesn't have the confidence in them, because this man is literally out there searching for the remains of his daughter, which he said he is, and this is his own words, these are facts, he is looking for her head and an arm. And he's out there with a flashlight with a couple of his other relatives looking for his child's remains, and the police are not. And so, they've searched the water, I think I've read twice, and the police have found nothing. And like we said on the earlier podcast, that the volunteers and people in the area and neighborhood are the ones that are finding her remains. So I don't have a lot of confidence because, again, I haven't seen cadaver dogs. I haven't seen them out. I've seen the people out looking for her remains. So I don't have the confidence. No, I do not.
I also will piggyback that and say I don't have the confidence of the Milwaukee police either. I do, however, have confidence in the prosecution. I do have confidence in the state, but the local police of Milwaukee, I don't. Anytime you have civilians who are going out and finding things that you've already, as a law enforcement entity, combed over and you didn't find anything. I just find that very bizarre.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It definitely reads, we are not putting the energy into this. And in my opinion, I'm not seeing enough of them on the news speaking. I'm not seeing enough presence.
I think that a big reason we're doing this story and spotlighting this story is to, in our own small way, amplify the story, because that's really what it needs for police to do their job.
Yeah.
They have to feel the pressure of society. They have to feel that pressure to push for more evidence, but also we have to remember that if you do believe in the prosecution, if you believe in the state, the prosecutors are pushing the police because they want to win this case.
Yes.
The state's attorney, all of them, they want to win a case. When they bring murder charges, it's not foolery.
Yeah.
Right.
They want to win.
Yeah.
So that's what actually gives me confidence that the police are going to come up with more evidence because they're being pushed by the prosecutors in the case to find more evidence. That's the only saving grace that we have since she's not getting the media attention that she deserves.
That's
This
right.
is still like all the news reports that you see online are local news reports.
That's it.
Right.
That's
They
it.
are not national news reports.
That's right.
Okay? And so we have to remember that. So the more eyes that we can put on this case and that you can put on this case, the
Yes.
people watching this and listening to this podcast, you need to go out there on your own platforms and speak on Sade Robinson because that all helps
Yes.
with the pressure. You need to amount the pressure on cases like this.
Yes.
That's right.
And so, but like I said, I actually do have more confidence now that the prosecution is into it now because they want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're pushing those officers and they have their own investigators. So we got to remember that too. The prosecutors have their own investigation group that's out there working with the police
Right.
and without them to gather any evidence possible. And so that does give me confidence in the case. And I would like to learn more about the specific prosecutor and their record.
Yeah.
Record,
That
right.
that
Yeah.
would really help me feel even more confident. So I'll look into that to give you that
Absolutely.
information on the next episode. But I want to talk a little bit more about what's next for this case. So the next trial date is May 16th.
Okay.
And it's listed as a preliminary hearing. And it's listed as a scheduling conference.
Right.
Now, at first glance, a scheduling conference could be really simple. They could just be coming in to decide when they want to start the trial, what date and under what terms and blah, blah, blah. But at a scheduling conference, you also list out all the charges again. You list out, and then the prosecution, this is what's really serious about the May 16th hearing. The prosecutors are going to list everything they have.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
so they're going to let the defense know, because this is a legal obligation, that they let the defense know everything they're going to bring. Let me see
That's
here.
good.
It's going to include the police report, a list of defendants, a list of the defendant's prior offenses, so his full criminal background, and any other evidence the prosecution intends to introduce during trial.
Wow.
So they're showing all their cards May 16th
Thank God.
to the defense.
Yeah.
And then at that point, this is when he can look at everything they have and decide
Oh,
to send his lawyer back to negotiate a plea deal. Because even though you say, I'm not guilty, blah, 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 you can see all this evidence. This is his last chance before the trial starts. Well, maybe not his last chance. Even, you still get a chance. You can literally bring a plea bargain or get a plea all the way up to before the jury decides.
right.
But this is one of the big moments where he can get a plea deal after seeing all the evidence. And so it'll be interesting to see if he moved forward
He
with the
sure
case
will.
after May 16th.
Definitely.
What do you think he would?
I think he might be such a narcissist, like a lot of criminals are, that
Yeah.
think, oh, I can get off. I want the trial. I want all this attention because I didn't do it. And I think he's a narcissist, really. And so I think he may not take a plea deal because he's that sick. That's what I think, and I hope he doesn't.
Yeah, he's a psycho. I hope he doesn't either, and I really feel like he won't. I feel like he's gonna. Yeah, I'm not. It's gonna be proven that I didn't do it.
Right. And he can go back to his little bartending life and
Because I think that he feels he's smart enough.
That's
that
right.
He outsmarted them. I got rid of the evidence in his mind, so
right.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
And I also speculate. We haven't founded this. This is not founded in any truth.
Right.
But I also believe that he has done this before.
Yeah.
Because no one is talking about the blood that is in the house. Whose blood
right.
does this belong to, and why is it so much of it? We know it ain't pig. We know it ain't dog. It's human.
Right.
So why do you have this much blood, and where is this person?
Yeah. Who does it belong? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that because his movements were so calculated, if you look back at the timeline, he did what, allegedly.
Yeah.
The timeline is very calculated. Leaves the place. Her car leaves. Don't know where his car is. Nobody can place his car on any cameras. Her GPS is going back and forth from the river back to her car, to the river, back to the car. He gets on a bus to go back home instead of his car that he went on the date with.
That's right.
In the middle of the night. It's very calculated. And the way the body parts were placed around the city.
Yeah.
It's somebody that knows the city very well, which he does because he's lived there and worked there for many, many years. And because of that calculated movement, I feel he thinks he got away with it, that he did enough to outsmart them. And I believe that the rest of her remains are in that river, never to be found again because the current took it. They might find it. I mean, it could be in another state. Like, that's how currents work.
And it's like, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But because of all of that, and the way he, I believe nothing in his house was used to kill her. If he used something in the house, I don't think it's still in the house.
Yeah.
I think it's gone. I think it's in the river as well. But I want to say that a lot of murderers in the past have been convicted without a body.
That's right.
Without the murder weapon. And some people would say that's not fair. But when you look closely at those cases, it's the timeline. It's the where, when, and how.
Yes, sir.
And was it plausible that somebody else did it? Or was it this person that everybody saw the person with last, and everybody, and all of these things add up back to this person. So there's a lot of ways to prove somebody did something to somebody else, even if they got rid of the murder weapon.
Yeah.
There is still evidence. There's still evidence on, we had, like I said, I think her autopsy, what they can find from the pieces of her that they have.
Yep.
He is not, a doctor.
Right.
He's not a scientist.
Right.
He's not any of these things.
He's not.
He's the lowest common denominator, really, on a scale.
Yeah.
So just because he got rid of the basic things doesn't mean he got rid of the microscopic things.
Evidence. That's right.
That can seal your fate.
That's right.
And that's what I believe. I think science will overall win this case.
I do too.
Because it's those little minute things that you can't see. You think you cleaned that, or you think you got rid of that, or you think you did this.
How would they know?
But
Nope.
science is something.
It sure is.
I know we live in a society that half of us don't believe in science anymore, so it is what it is. And he might be that in that half.
He might.
And maybe that's why he said he's not guilty and thinks he's going to get away with this. But I do currently have confidence that enough evidence will be mounted, and I think he's going to find out just how much more evidence they have against him May 16th. And I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to make a plea on the 16th, because it's one thing to think you got away with something. It's another thing to see that you didn't. Because
With all the evidence
if he
that
sees
they're gonna
more
come out.
evidence that he's not expecting them to have, that's when he'll be like, okay, I don't want to be on death row.
Right.
I hope he doesn't plea. But they can find out, like you said, the scientific.
Why would you hope he doesn't plea?
Because I want him to get punished to the full extent.
Yeah, but he still would. A plea at this level would be life without the possibility, and not life and, like, getting killed, like death row. You're not going to death. This would be that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be, you going to get out one day. This would be
want
like
him-
life or death situation for him. I mean,
I want him
we can look
life
into it,
without
but
the possibility.
I would take the plea if it was life, because when you messing around with a jury, I just wouldn't mess around with a jury if I didn't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Put him in jail forever.
If it's
Yeah.
Let
life
it
without
be,
possibility, yes, I would love that.
But you would think that initially he would have done that. He would have taken the plea deal.
Well,
lot
initially
of 'em
he thinks he got away with it.
Yeah.
When you're this technical about everything you
sick.
did, you literally worked all night. You understand?
He
This
did.
timeline means that he worked all night.
He sure did.
To get rid of
He
her
did
body
that.
and to get rid of any other evidence he could think of against him.
Yep.
So
I
he
mean,
put in a whole night's
did.
work
All night.
He did.
Yeah.
into the
Anytime-
morning.
Yep.
Anytime you get on the bus
At 8:00 in the morning.
and you on there with
And
a
he
backpack,
looked like he just did a whole job.
he
Yeah.
did look tired.
Because he did.
I mean,
You
he's on that
climbing.
bus.
I mean, those bluffs were. I read in a report 100 feet. 100 feet
and then
from the land
And
to
so
the
the
lake.
bluffs that
Yes.
you're talking about is where we're saying he went back and forth
Yes.
with the body parts to the river.
Yes.
and he used the car, and evidence shows it was her car, to run into that water pump you talked about last time.
Yes.
Which
at
is a
Cudahy.
building
Yes.
where he could have dismembered her.
Yeah.
That's where I believe.
He
Allegedly.
bumped- he bumped
that
into
could
that.
be the crime scene.
Could
And like
be.
I'm talking about, that's where science comes into play, because he may have thought he cleaned up.
Right.
But blood is very difficult to
clean.
erase.
Right.
Not just to clean. You can clean it.
Yeah.
But you put that blue light on it, and I could still tell it was blood there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do about
That's
that.
it.
And he was in that pump house.
Definitely. Oh yes.
And if they find any DNA of him and her, it's a wrap.
wrap.
It's a wrap.
They just have to find DNA of him and her in a place where he said he wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's game over.
And then
Yeah.
if he doesn't plea after that, then he really
well, yeah,
is
I mean,
nuts.
but somebody like this is nuts. So
He's
that's why
nuts.
I'm saying it's so plausible that he'll just go through with the trial.
for the attention,
Yeah, I mean, because he crazy
Yeah.
and,
he is nuts.
and everything else. I mean, a sane person would try to get out of this as soon as possible.
Right.
But we just don't know. So what's up next, like I said, is the May 16th hearing, which we will also cover and bring you as much information as we can about what happens on May 16th. Hopefully we can be We will be privy to the evidence that the prosecution is giving
Yes.
to the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And we can speak on that, and maybe it'll be more that
Right.
we can really feel good about going into trial.
Right.
Yeah.
And who we expect to see during the trial and all of those things. And so yeah, we're going to stay on top of this story. And like I said, if you are just joining us, we are doing a series following the Sade Robinson case. I refuse to call it his name because I just no. This is about Sade.
That's right.
Yes, it
And
is.
and we're trying to elevate this story. So if you are enjoying getting this information from us, please like the video and share it and get it out to as many people as you can, so we can keep speaking her name and keeping her out there, and hopefully building more media attention towards her story, because she needs justice.
She
And
does.
we can't let this fall through the cracks like so many murders of black women do.
Right.
So we're going to move on to
Bless
our
her
recommendations, and we're going to start off with recommending some black-owned businesses. And I'll start us off. This is the Black-Owned Spotlight. It's called, it's a business, but it's an organization. So it's called Refine Collective. And it's a digital community that makes it easy to identify and support minority-owned businesses and freelancers. It's a great website that just kind of tells you about all kind of black-owned businesses and freelance workers that are black that are out here doing it.
Nice.
But they also do a lot of pop-ups here in Chicago. They're based here in Chicago. They do a lot of pop-ups of different businesses. They do big markets with a lot of different businesses all together. So it's a really great organization. They're really trying to impact economic growth in our community, and they're doing a lot of great things. So check them out at refinecltv.com for more information. So, Mama, what's your business?
My business is Chicago Mahogany Tours. The owner is Sherman Thompson, aka Dilla. My bad, Sherman.
I don't even know what that was.
AKA, I was trying to say. They call him Dilla.
Okay.
And he does tours in Bronzeville.
Oh, I know
They
that
like,
dude. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, he's got a
I was like, Dilla.
Dilla,
Why does
baby.
that sound familiar?
bless his heart. Well, that's what he calls himself, and I guess everybody else calls him
He
Dilla.
does tours.
He does tours in Chicago, you know, black areas. He gives you all the background, and there's a rich history here.
Yes, a lot of
African American
info.
history.
Oh yeah.
And his website is www.chicagomahogany.com. I'm sick of
sitting there
y'all.
looking at my phone, then
I'm sick of y'all. I'm really sick of being taunted this way, people. My God in heaven. Anyway, that's my black business. I'm sorry. Good God.
www. See, this is why I'm so country. You see this? This is outrageous. We are from Chicago, y'all.
We are.
Through and through.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, baby, I promise you I am.
Born and
raised, baby.
Born and raised.
That's born and raised.
Yeah.
www.
Praise the Lord. Forget them, Dilla. Oh my God. So ignorant.
Oh my God. Oh, so mine.
They are so ignorant.
Oh my goodness. Is a barbecue spot in Evanston, Illinois that has been around since 1983. It is called Hecky's Barbecue at 1902 Green Bay Road. And the man Hecky's, he passed away during COVID. But he was such a nice guy. I would go in there before he passed away.
Yeah.
And so the family now has it. So pay them a tribute. And it is some of the best barbecue you want to taste.
What?
Tender and fall off the bone. It's smoked, by the way.
Wow.
Do they have turkey tips?
I don't know if they have
'Cause
turkey
that's
tips,
what we would
but
need.
I
have to.
know
We don't do
they
the
got
pork
turkey
no more.
legs.
Oh, do
They
they?
got smoked turkey legs. I do know that.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good.
I don't know about
I
turkey
would love
tips,
some
though.
turkey tips,
Me
though.
too.
Woo.
My God.
I have to ask them about
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to TV or a movie. Recommendation for TV or a movie. I'm gonna start us off. Man, I don't know how this happened, but I went down memory lane and got sucked back into The Wire. HBO season 1.
The Wire.
I am all the way in,
Oh, my.
starting this over, and it is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
I love this.
Oh, yeah,
and
The
it's just
Wire.
like, oh my God.
Oh, it was.
Saw it.
Ooh,
I'm
do
like,
yourself
this
a
is-
treat,
Ooh.
baby.
Oh, wait.
Ooh,
It's one
it's
of the
so
best shows
good.
I've ever seen.
It's
Wow.
I love it.
It's still one of the best shows that has ever been made.
Wow.
I agree. I'm not gonna lie, but The Wire was so good. You used to have to rent.
See, I didn't even appreciate it like that
See,
because
I
I was a
rented it.
kid.
Right.
So The
You
Wire
didn't-
really didn't hit me like
When
that
I
till
tell
later.
you, it was
Wow.
like being a fiend. We would go to Blockbusters. I would rent. Do you have episode 3? What you mean? What time is it gonna be in? Well, they supposed to return it at 6. I'll be back at 6.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
Oh,
just
my God.
going back and see, it's so good to watch because if you didn't see every episode or if you don't remember every little storyline, it's like whoa,
Stringer
this
Bell.
is Stringer Bell,
Ooh.
Idris.
What?
The first time I ever saw Idris
Yeah,
Elba.
he was so fine on
My
this
Lord.
show.
Wow.
This is outrageous how fine this man was.
First time.
I was like, man, what was I?
My God. You was a baby.
I'm saying.
Still.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You got
That's
Idris
why I
locked
had
up.
to rewatch it. Cause I'm like, man, I ain't really wasn't paying
You couldn't
attention to this.
Ooh, it was
But
so
now
good.
to watch it,
You
and
do
the
yourself a
full
favor.
show
I've
is
never
on
seen
HBO.
It's on
HBO Max
HBO.
or whatever.
I'm gonna
But
have to
the
go ahead
full,
and
the
do it.
full,
The
all the
full, all the
seasons.
seasons. How many seasons is it?
I think it's like 6.
Wow.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Never watched it.
Oh,
You gotta
my
watch.
God.
Okay, Ma, what's yours?
Okay, mine is something really crazy. It's a show on Netflix called Unbreakable. And I watch it because I love Titus
Unbreakable.
Burgess.
You alive?
He
damn it.
is one
It's
of
a
my
miracle.
favorite actors. He's so funny.
Yes.
And I watch it really because of him. I love that man. He is so
It is
funny. Titus, I
hilarious.
love you.
Really?
Titus Andromeda.
Yes.
Andromedon. I already know that's a fool.
He
Ooh,
made it
Andromedon.
up. He made it up.
Oh, I love him. He can sing. He
Oh,
can dance.
I already know now. I need to watch it.
He's
You
happy.
would, you
Oh,
would love
I
it.
love him.
It is so
It's
funny.
my baby right there.
It is a hilarious show.
Love it. That's
O-
what I'm watching.
Okay, so mine for you anime people out there is called Castlevania. And it is on Netflix. And it is a really good animated anime series.
It is.
Now you like it?
It is.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would never thought that you would watch that.
Oh yeah, but you know what my show is Attack on Titan.
Really?
You watch Attack on
No.
Titan? Oh.
But I will.
It's the best. It's my favorite anime, mango, whatever you want to
Oh,
call
my
it.
God.
That's my favorite show. But yeah, you need to. It's on Hulu.
Okay. Hula.
Hulu.
That's what it's
As
on.
Mama would say.
That's right.
It's on Hulu.
Dilla.
www.hulu.com.
I ain't thinking about them.
Woo.
Okay.
Okay. Let's do a book.
Okay.
All
So
right.
my book for this week, I love mystery novels. I read them all. I love it.
Wow.
So this is a mystery novel called The Rooster Bar by John Grisham. And John Grisham is like one of the kings of mystery novel writing.
yeah.
He wrote The Client, which became a movie. Like a bunch of big stars is in
Big
that movie.
movie.
So if you've ever seen The Client, they based it off of one of his books.
Wow.
And he's just a great writer. Really takes you into this. I love writers who really like develop the scenery so my imagination can like build the whole world the story lives in because of their descriptions. You know, so you really feel like you're in it. You're in that city. You're in that situation with these people, and just a great writer, and it's a great book.
Wow.
So check it out if you just want a book just to zone out to.
That's good.
Okay, Mom.
My book is called Having What Matters by Monique Greenwood. And it's kind of like a little self-help book. And it helps you, you know, creating the life you want. It's a great book. She's a brilliant little writer.
Oh, man, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So my book is Keeping the Faith, or Keep the Faith, by Faith Evans. It's an autobiographical book. And it is awesome. And when I tell you the life that young lady has had from a very young age
Okay.
is
A doozy.
oh yeah, it's one to read for sure.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
All right.
And last but not least, we're gonna do music.
All right.
And Mama, why don't you start us off?
I'm going to start off with a brilliant artist who, to me, never got her roses. I love her. I think they're online doing something for her because of health reasons of some sort. But Rochelle Farrell with Open Arms, that album. Oh my gosh.
That's a talent.
She's a major, for a singer, she is like the epitome of singers.
She's up there.
Her vocal range, her knowing how to take her breaths, and her piano playing. Oh my God. She's amazing.
Really is.
So that's my album.
All right.
Awesome.
Lamar.
So my song is by a young lady who had dealings with TLC and it didn't go so well.
Oh.
Her name is Pebbles, and but some of her songs though, man, wow.
Okay.
So she has a song called "Benefit of the Doubt."
Oh, giving you the benefit
Hey.
of the doubt.
Yeah. Mama know that one. It's a throwback.
Yeah.
It's a jam. Check it out.
Oh, that was a
Okay.
jam. That was a jam.
It was
I'm
a jam.
sorry.
And
I don't
always.
care.
You know always,
Oh,
don't
can
you?
work it all out.
Hey.
I don't really
Giving
know
you the
Pebbles
benefit
like that. I just knew
of
that she
the
was
doubt.
the woman that stole
did.
TLC.
She
money.
did that. Now,
some
she
stuff.
did do that.
But I'm
Yeah.
going to give her the benefit of the doubt.
And always. And
And yeah.
Don't ever
Yeah.
desert me.
Ooh, she-
That's a jam.
that
And
was-
Mercedes Boy.
Oh,
Oh,
will
you
you
just
want to
know all
ride
this.
in my Mercedes? Oh, we don't want to get
Hey.
sued.
Wow, wow,
Whip
wow.
me, whip me, whip
I
me.
don't know any of these songs.
Oh, those
anything.
were my songs. You
I don't know any of these
you
songs.
was in the back seat.
Wow.
You was in the
I'm
back
driving.
seat.
In the car seat.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure would.
All right, well, I'm going to do mine. I got a throwback. It's the Fugees. Ready or not,
Hey!
here I come. You can't hide.
Yeah.
Gonna find you and make you want me.
All right.
Okay. The bomb.
The Fugees.
Man.
Right.
Ooh la la la.
Hey.
Yeah.
Tell you. It's in a
Nice.
is it I think it's the Fuji La album. Whatever. Fugees, Ready or Not.
Yeah.
That album,
Nice.
it's a classic. I love
Certainly
it's just a classic.
Let me tell you something. Anything that Lauryn Hill puts her finger
I'm
print
telling you.
on,
Yes.
I'm telling you.
it's gonna be the bomb.
It's,
Period.
It is. And that's our recommendations for the week,
Yes.
y'all. Once again, if you have any news, anything you want to report, anything you've heard about the Sade Robinson case, please DM us on our TikTok or Instagram, which is Ask Mama Podcast. And like I said, we will be back. We're going to be doing, we do episodes every week. So we will see you next week, and we'll be telling you everything that we know up to date, starting with the May 16th hearing for Maxwell Anderson, the assumed killer in this case. So, yeah, like I said, Mama, you have any outgoing words for the people?
I would like to leave you all with this. I am more than a conqueror. So if you could just keep that with you as an affirmation for the week. I am more than a conqueror, and that is what we all are.
Yeah. All right. Okay, see y'all next week.
All
Peace.
righty.
Peace.
Bye-bye.